Hey you guys, happy Saturday. So that video I did yesterday for the shift dress, well, I did it, but it didn't save all of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and reshoot all of it today. So I'm gonna cut it out and sew it. So it's probably gonna take about an hour and a half. So feel free to start your own sewing project and put me on in the background and we can sew together. So fun, right? So the first thing we're gonna do is cut out this shift dress. So let's go over to the cutting table and cut it out. Let's get you positioned here. Okay, so I think you should be able to see everything I'm doing right here. So I've got my pattern and I've got my fabric. So we're gonna lay out the plaid flannel. We're gonna cut it out. Today I'm just gonna use a rotary cutter from Fiskars. I've got my sealable mat here on the table, so I don't have to worry about the surface. So I'm gonna take out my pattern. We're doing a shift dress. So my original patterns are always on tag board, so that way when I give them to the pattern grader, they are nice and professional. So today too, I'm also gonna do it without the invisible side seam pocket, because I actually didn't love that side seam pocket when I tried it on. But I am gonna do the two-piece sleeve that's fully lined. So that'll take away a little time. Don't have to do that pocket. So that's nice. So my fabric should be ironed already. Let's take a look at it. So what kind of sewing projects are you guys working on today at home or in the studio? Anything worth sharing? Let's see, are we gonna have enough fabric for this even? Is the question. I think we will. We might be making this a shorter shift dress. I don't know if there's actually enough fabric here. Oh my gosh. But then maybe we can't do sleeves. Shoot. Okay. Well, I am super short, so we can totally make this 2 inches shorter and save some fabric. But that means I think we're gonna have to pick out a different fabric for the sleeves. Great news, I've got so much fabric around here, it shouldn't be an issue. But then I guess the question is, do we make it with a black sleeve, or do we do a red or a hunter green? What do you guys think? What kind of sleeve would look good on this shift dress? Well, the first thing I'm gonna do is draw a 2-inch line on this pattern, and I'm just gonna fold it up, so no big deal. So I'm gonna grab an awl, the AWL, and then I'm gonna grab a 2-inch ruler. So I like using clear 2-inch rulers. This one is a quilting ruler, so it's gonna be nice and thick. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna drag this across the pattern, and it's going to allow me to crease it to be able to either fold it up or under. Okay, and now easily it'll let me take this tag board and just fold it up. So I've got these little wings though at the side, right? So we're gonna fold those under as well because we don't wanna cut those off. So I'm gonna go ahead and fold that under and now up. And now we've got a nice smooth corner for the hem of the dress when we cut it out. Right? What's that from? Who knows what that's from? A little Full House? You guys like Full House? Okay, so the front is 2 inches shorter, and now we're gonna make the back 2 inches shorter. Every inch of fabric counts, right? I always tell everybody that when they're laying things out. Make sure you lay them out so you're using everything very efficiently, because when you get into really high-end fabrics, sometimes things cost hundreds of dollars an inch, believe it or not, especially things that are hand woven. Maybe they're, made out of very special like wools or like a cashmere. So you never know. So you want to preserve every inch of fabric that you can. Okay, so now we're 2 inches shorter, which is 4 extra inches of fabric for us. So we are going to fit. Perfect. So let's open this up and then we'll cut it out. So because this is a plaid, you really want to make sure that everything is laid out straight on the grain. So that way you don't look lopsided wearing your plaid. That would be kind of funny, wouldn't it? Don't want to do that. So a lot of times when I'm doing plaids too, I'll pick a line to follow, and then I'll take my pattern and I'll flip it up and make sure it looks nice and straight all the way down, and see if I need to adjust it at all, and then go ahead and flip my pattern back. It's like we're hanging off the edge here a little, so let's move over 1 square of plaid, flip it back, and then grab your weight, grab your industrial pattern weights, and go ahead and weight your pattern. Let's find the rest of the weights. They're in the middle of the table where I can't reach them on the other side. 2 will do. Okay, let's cut it out, rotary cutter. Pull back your blade, and let's do it. Do you guys have a favorite brand of a rotary cutter? I would love to know what it is. I'm also always looking for like a good inexpensive blade company, because I know sometimes if I go to Joann's, they're like $50 for a pack of blades, and that is pretty nuts. I was buying this brand that was on Amazon, and it was called Japanese Steel, I believe, but I haven't been able to find that, so I don't know what happened to that company, or if it was just like a fake company from another company. You know, all that stuff gets so confusing. Okay, let's grab some snips. Hi kitty kitty. So anywhere it didn't catch, I'm just gonna snip it here at the corner. Okay, so 1 down, 1, 2, go. So we've got 1 dress cut out. I think that's the front. Nope, that's the back. So we got the back cut out, so now we're gonna cut out the front and then 2 sleeves, and then we can start sewing. Okay, hopefully I don't have fabric here. What's going on? Oh yeah, we're good. We like just made it. Talk about using every last inch of your fabric. This does not look even on the bottom. So maybe possibly this was printed wrong. Let's see, because it is a printed fabric. I think we can live with that. Okay. So do you guys have a favorite style of dress you like to wear in the winter? I'm a really big fan of fit and flare dresses that are knit, or a nice cozy shift dress, or I love like a great fitted wool dress as well. And then I'm a big fan of wool pencil skirts, or like a wool circle skirt. Love it. I love wool. Nice wool is warm and soft and breathable. You can't beat it. I feel like there's a myth that people think wool is itchy. Cheap, inexpensive, bad wool, it could be itchy. But good, nice wool is very, very soft to the touch and very warm. Okay, we did it. Easy breezy. So we've got the front of the dress now, and now we just need to do a couple of sleeves. So now we're gonna cut out this little cap sleeve that has a really nice shape to it. So if you watched yesterday, maybe you saw how nice that shape worked if the video was working. But video is working today, and we're all charged up. So we are gonna get through this entire project today. So I'm gonna cut 4 of these because I'm self-lining them. You might think, well, isn't that a little bit thick because it's 2 layers of flannel? I think it feels good and cozy and just fine. And I'd rather have this cotton on my arm than some acetate or like a poly lining. And I don't have any random silk laying around, so I won't be doing that for a sleeve lining. Okay, we're gonna fit 2 here. Now, question is, can we get 2 more sleeves out of this? At least we got 2. We always could. Oh, nope, we're gonna do it. Okay, so we like just had enough to do this. Oops. Okay, let's cut this extra chunk off. There we go. Okay, scraps. So you guys keep your scraps. I totally keep my scraps for like small projects like scrunchies or wallets or change purses or, you know, all those fun things. I think I'm gonna start doing some more videos on those too, like what to do with your scraps. I know a handful of years ago, I just had like, I don't know, probably like 20 garbage bags full of scraps. And we started making, what do you call them? Like a rag rug, I guess is what they call them. And those are interesting. Those are fun to make. Those took a lot of work. I don't know whatever happened to those. I had the interns working on those. So that's a great question. I feel like they didn't go so well for them, and maybe they scrapped them or we threw them out. But the idea was really cool. If it was executed properly, I think they would have been great for the store. Okay, so we've got 4 layers of flannel here, regular rotary cutter, and we are gonna cut these sleeves out. Always keep your hand away from that blade. I tell people this all the time in basic sewing. You know, people don't like to listen sometimes, and they definitely put their hands in front of it and cut themselves. So, you know, you gotta be careful. Safety first. So you really got to push into this with these 4 layers. So that electric fabric cutter was just so amazing because no pressure. So like my hands and my fingers right now, my pointer finger is starting to hurt. I think I'm getting arthritis in it or something like that probably. So that's why I'm so excited about that electric fabric cutter too. Save my joints for my old age, right? Okay, so now we've got our 4 sleeves. And we are ready to start serging. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. It might get a little loud over by the serger, but we're gonna go use the Amber Air serger. And I think I'm gonna get out of this really hot sweater real quick. So I'm gonna put you over by the serger and change this shirt. And we are gonna start serging. Most importantly today, coffee. I am so tired today. I feel like something just like wiped me out. I don't even know what, but today is a sleepy day. Very gray in Chicago. It's very cold. It's in between like raining and snowing. So, okay, let's set you guys up over here with the serger with me. We're gonna use black thread on it. Okay. Chair. And I think you guys are in a good spot. Oh, give me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna grab a t-shirt real quick. Hi, Katie. Yeah? You wanna come say hi? Okay, I'm back. Much better. I was like burning up in that giant sweater. So let's go ahead, turn the machine on, and we're all ready to go. If you guys don't know, the new Amber Air Serger by Husqvarna Viking has air threading technology for the upper and the lower looper, which is amazing. It like thread those loopers like that, like 2 seconds. It's so cool. Okay. I feel like this is deja vu because we totally did this yesterday. Okay. So for the sleeves, because they are self-lined, we actually only need to sew the top of them. I'm also going to sew the side seam here, the underarm seam on the sleeve, but we're lining this point here, so there's no reason to serge that. So here we go. Let's see, how long is it going to take us to do 4 sleeves? 16 minutes, so let's see. So another thing I do when I'm sewing and I'm serging here is I turn my corners. I do not go off the fabric and start again because I don't want to end up with all these broken threads at every single corner because that's just more risk for my project to come apart or come undone. Okay, sleeve 1, done. 3 more to go. So we're doing the curve. You want to pretend it's a straight line and just keep following the guide on your plate. And then your curves will turn out beautifully. You're not going to end up chopping off anything. Really important not to chop anything off when you're serging because these are basically pattern pieces we're putting together. I mean, giant puzzle pieces we're putting together. So the pattern has to fit together like a puzzle. And if you change the puzzle shape, how's it going to fit together, right? Might not fit right. Same thing with seam allowance, right? You always got to be careful what seam allowance you're using. You're going to come visit? The cat's here. Come here. Yeah? The cat loves sewing. Especially the sergers. Okay, 3. We got 1 more left. Doing it. You guys want to make sure your needles are up before you turn. That's why I'm turning the hand wheel over there. Okay, sleeves are done, and now we're just gonna move over to the bodies. And today we don't have the pockets, so I mean, so easy, right? I love a great easy dress. I've also thought about sewing all my scraps together possibly, and then making like some scrap dresses. I think that could be super cute too. What do you guys think? We're gonna do the shoulder, and then we're gonna do the armhole. I know armhole serging is scary for some people. Just remember, keep it straight. So you wanna follow that guide. Now we're gonna do the side seam. Hem. Cat is very curious today. Side seam. Back to the other armhole. Shoulder. So I'm going to do the neckline on this because our neckline is just turned under. So there's no binding on it. There's no collar on it. It's just got a serged and flipped neckline that's very narrow. That's how it's able to flip under with having a curve. So you need to make sure you serge the curve here real smoothly. Don't cut any of it off. So notice how when I serge a curve, there's a lot of extra fabric over here that bunches up. Totally cool. We just want everything that's going into the machine to be super flat. And then, like magic, it works. So check out how nice that stitch is on this machine. I love it. Totally recommend one. Only thing I wish it had was a cover stitch. It doesn't have a cover stitch, but supposedly, excuse me, supposedly there's some new models coming out that have cover stitch on them. So I'm super excited about that. So I bought this Janome cover stitch machine maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And it was awful. It wouldn't sew over seams. It like would skip stitches all the time. I ended up getting rid of that. But I love the cover stitch on the Husqvarna Viking S25. That's a really nice cover stitch. It's the best one I've used so far for home sewing. Obviously, love the industrial machines, super smooth and fast. As far as home sewing goes, the Viking S25 is my favorite for a cover stitch. Okay, we're almost done with this other body of the dress, and then we can start sewing. Do that armhole again. So notice how I'm starting out, and if I kept sewing straight, I would obviously like completely chop this off. So I'm going to start just a little bit, and then I'm going to take the rest of my dress and push it over here to the left and really straighten out this curve. Okay, we're going to do the curve of the neck. So just keep it straight. Okay, and we have completed serging our dress. I think I am maybe going to iron this a little bit. It's a little bit wrinkly. But I can get through a few steps without ironing it. So we're going to turn off Amber Air, and we're going to go over to the Designer Epic. Not the 2 though, but I do have it sitting in a box over here. Maybe I'll sneak peek it to you guys after. Just waiting for the embroidery unit to come so I can like open it and do a reveal. It's killing me. I got the mint green one, and it's beautiful, but can't use it right now. Okay, so obviously this is my row of machines here for class. So we have the Designer Epic here, and then we got all of our Amber Airs behind me. Okay, so we're going to set the machine up to a straight stitch. I already have black thread in it from yesterday. So you want to make sure you select your fabric on the screen here. Here, let's show you guys. Take you off for a second. Okay, so we want to make sure that we select our fabric. I love this machine. It has all these built-in stitches and like tensions and stuff for the fabric. So when I was doing the wallet the other day, I was able to select vinyl, which was really cool. So I'm going to go with a woven, I think light. That is pretty light flannel. So we're going to do woven light. Now I can come down here and I can select a seam. And now it's going to pull up another screen. And I'm going to get rid of this little screen. We already know what a seam is. Okay. And you can adjust your stitch length here. This is your tension. And if there was a width to it, you could do your width right there. But we're good. We don't have width because, well, it's a straight stitch, right? So we got this all set up. And now we can start sewing. So let's put you guys back on here. No, we do not want to mute you. How did we mute you? Okay. Can you guys hear? I feel like it just said it muted something. Let's share it, though. We can share it. That's kind of cool. We can Twitter it. I didn't know this. Uh-oh, but are you still here? Okay. That was weird. I don't know what just happened. We're live! Okay, so let's bring you guys down just a little bit. so you can see a little more. And let's sew up this shift dress. So I've got all my vintage patterns out here on the wall. Love them. Okay, so let's get in here. Love this machine, how bright it is, but it's so hard to film sometimes with how bright that is. And I need my coffee, so let's get that coffee. Okay, so I've got my coffee here, and I am ready. So the first thing we're gonna do is sew our shoulders together. And then once we sew the shoulders together, we're gonna go ahead and put the lining in the sleeves, and then we're gonna sew the sleeve just around the armhole, and then we're gonna sew up the side seam. So fairly easy technique, but setting in the sleeve and easing it in without pins is what we're gonna do. So that can be really tricky, so I'm gonna walk you guys through that step so you can see how that's done as well. So cheers, happy sewing, happy Saturday. Okay, so we're going right sides together, right? Always. So flannel's the right side with the plaid on it. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna sew these shoulder seams together. So I'm not gonna use pins, but if you guys wanna use pins, obviously totally use pins. Make sure you don't sew over them. They could ruin your machine or ruin your fabric, or your eye could break. So we're gonna go ahead and just sew this shoulder seam up a 1/2 inch. So if you guys are ever using any of my patterns that I custom design, things are generally either a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch because that's industry standard in fashion design, or if it's knitwear, it's gonna be 3/8. But we're sewing a woven right here, so everything's going to be a 1/2 inch. So let's just move you guys down so you can see. Here we go. And let's go ahead and sew up the shoulder a 1/2 inch. So my fix is lit up, which means it's gonna make a little knot here for me. So on this machine, you don't have to back stitch, but I like to back stitch. Don't want my things falling apart. But just a couple. You only need like 2 back stitches in there. Some people like to go crazy with it. No need. Just a couple. 1, 2. That's it. Cut. So I love the feature on this machine too. It has a scissor button. It cuts it for you. It lifts up the foot. Easy a breezy. Okay, so now what we want to do is press our seam open. So you want to press your seams open always because it's going to give you a nice, clean, crisp finish. So now we're going to go ahead and do the other shoulder. And if everything should be lining up well, that means you serged and cut everything out really nicely. It's always a good little test. See how well everything's lining up, how well your previous steps were. That's why I always try to stress cutting out and serging it perfectly is so important so that the rest of it goes together so smoothly. And then it makes your life less chaotic. Okay, so now we've got our other shoulder seam. So we've got 2 shoulder seams finished, and now we want to go ahead and sew up these sleeves. So what are we going to do with all these sleeve pieces? So the first thing we're going to do is finish this curved edge. So we're going to go ahead and put right sides together, and we are going to sew this up. So now this is a curved edge, so the seam allowance is going to be 1/4 inch. So make sure you know where your 1/4 inch is on your machine. Make sure everything stays lined up on the curve. Also make sure your needle up-down button is engaged, so that way every time you stop, the needle is going to be in the fabric. This is going to help when we get to the point of the sleeve. So I'm going to go one more, and now the needle is in. This one automatically lifts up the foot just a little bit, so we're going to go ahead and turn. Hi, kitty. Hi. Wanna come up? Okay, so we're not done with the sleeve on this part. We actually want to do an edge stitch. So now you've got two sleeves sewn together at the hem of the sleeve. A little funky, right? We also need to clip our point, right? Otherwise it's not going to turn out right. So what we want to do is clip up into it. I like to clip to the left and then to the right of it. And now it's going to lay and fold and pull straight. So now what we're going to do is open it up and do an edge stitch. So an edge stitch is, what is it? 1/8 of an inch away from the seam. So we're going to go ahead and line this up. So that way, I'm using the B foot right now. So the B foot, the first little red mark on here, let's show you. Okay, so let's see, can you guys see on there? So there's a red mark on the foot all the way over to the left. I like to line this little mark up with the seam, and then the red in the center is going to be where my stitch line is, and that one is 1/8 of an inch away from the previous one. So that way, I know I'm going to be sewing a perfect edge stitch. Okay, let's do it. So you also want to make sure that all your seam allowance under here is, the seam allowance right here is pressed over to the right, and we are sewing on top of that seam allowance. I'm take the glasses off, okay? Okay, so now we have finished sewing the lining to one of the sleeves. So now what we need to do is the same thing to the other side. So you can see we have that edge stitch right there. It's nice and flat. There's no like buckles in it or pulls or tucks or anything. So now we just need to go over to the iron and iron that nice and flat. So let's go ahead and we're going to do up the other sleeve. So you can see how nice and finished this curve is going to be on the bottom of the sleeve. So that's going to be great for making your arms look slimmer, right? I think so. So I think when you design, you really need to take into consideration, you know, the optical illusion of lines and what are they doing to your body? How are they cutting across your body? And, you know, how are they making other people perceive what you're wearing? Sometimes I love all these like ruffly, pink, crazy, froofy things, but then I put them on and I'm just like, oh my God, like I cannot wear that. I do not look good in that as much as I really want to wear it. Yeah, sometimes I wear it, but you know, sometimes what you want to wear and what looks good on you are two different things. Okay, so now we've got these two layers lined up. And we're going to go ahead and do the 1/4 inch seam and sew them down. Hey, Iris, want to back it up? Want to see? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the 1/4 inch seam all the way around the hem of the sleeve here. Double check and make sure everything's lined up as you're going, especially if you've not pinned. Well, our thread just broke for some reason, so we're just gonna re-thread it real quick. Takes like 5 seconds. Yeah, did you do that? I hear you meowing. So automatic threader, love it. Do that, hit the button and it's automatically threaded. What? Oh my gosh, all sewing machines should have that. Yeah? Okay, so we are ready to start again. We're gonna get to that point and we're gonna turn. Back stitch at the end, always. We're gonna cut. Come here. Okay, what's next? We need to clip that point. Okay, so don't get lazy and not clip your points or your corners because things will not lay flat. They will not look nice and they will not look professional. So let's go ahead and clip that point that we have here. So we'll hold that up here so you can see it. So we're gonna clip in the center, to the left, and then to the right of it. Get that thread out of there. And now it'll allow us to pull it nice and flat, even though that was a point, and that's because we clipped it. So now it's gonna be easier to understitch it. So now we're gonna understitch, edge stitch that seam. Okay. So 1/8 of an inch, make sure your seam allowance is over to the right. Whoa, taken off there. Okay, so I didn't iron this first. You could have ironed your seam open. It'll help it be a little flatter. I'm gonna just make sure I pull it nice and taut so it's nice and flat. My biggest pet peeve is seeing seams that have top stitch or edge stitch, and there's like a bubble at the seam, or it looks like the other seam's almost like coming over the side. Hi, Jail Love, I think that's what that was, or hi, how are you doing? What are you making today? So it drives me crazy when those seams are buckled like that. So make sure you either iron or you're really pulling your seam nice and flat while you're sewing. Makes such a big difference. Okay, so we've just finished both of our sleeves, and now we're gonna go over to the ironing board and we're gonna iron everything really nice. So we've got that nice curve that's gonna go on our arm here for the sleeve, right? Look how nice that's gonna look. I'm so excited. Okay, so we're almost there. We just gotta set these sleeves in and sew up the sides. So not bad. Let's bring you guys over to the ironing board. Okay. Got a lot going on in here today, so excuse any messes I have. Hi, Australia. I missed your name, but I saw Australia. Okay, plug this in. I think it's time to take down my Christmas decorations today, too, and I'm done with this. Christmas is over. Ooh, a blouse for your mom. That is, like, so nice of you. Wow, that's awesome. What kind of fabric are you using? Okay, so we've got the iron. I'm just gonna let it heat up for a second, and let's iron these things. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is iron these shoulders open so that way we can set our sleeve in very smoothly. So iron these open. Oh, you guys can't see. Okay. So we're gonna iron that seam open on the shoulder. Hi, Costa Rica. Welcome to my sewing studio. We're sewing a shift dress today. Okay, so look how nice that looks after you iron it. And it's gonna be so much easier to sew because it's nice and flat. I'm gonna put that one over my shoulder. Okay, so now what we wanna do is get a knit, Long's knit. What's a Long's knit? I don't even know what that is. Coat and a dress. So ambitious for today. Wow. Okay, so we want to make sure that this seam here is nice and flat. So we're going to roll it out. I like to roll it with my fingers. And then I'm going to go ahead and iron the edge. So we're going to roll this with my fingers and make sure the seam is right at the outside. So we're going to go ahead. Oh, Ponte net. Okay, nice. Those are great. I like how thick they are. They're great thick knits. Actually, my favorite dresses that I wear in the winter are made out of that. Got a nice body to them. Okay, so now we're gonna do the other sleeve and then we can get back over to the sewing machine. So it doesn't take very long to press. I know people hate pressing, but it's just so important. It's gonna make your garment look so nice. Okay, so we are done pressing and our hem looks great. So let's go back over to the sewing machine over here. So now we're back over. Let's put you guys down and up a little. Okay, ooh, a little too low, too low. Okay, so now we can get back to sewing these sleeves. I might do close up for the sleeves so you guys can really see how I do this because I think it is really important to learn how to set in a sleeve without having to do basting all the time. sometimes, I mean, between like an inch and a half of extra in the sleeve, you really don't have to baste it if you're really good at easing things in. And so if you're sewing fast, you know, this saves a lot of time because that's 2 extra basting stitches you don't have to put in. And then, oh, snow day Montreal too. Oh, how fun. I love the snow, by the way. I have snowsuits that I love wearing, and I really want to do like a designer collection of snow pants. I think it would be so fun. Like living in Chicago, it's always so cold, but no, hi Iris. But nobody ever wears snow pants or snowsuits. And I don't know, the 80s had some amazing snowsuits and snow pants, and I wish I had them all from when I was a kid, but I don't. So I totally want to make them. And obviously, I love everything Tom Brown does for Montclair. It's like absolutely stunning, but I cannot afford a $20,000 snowsuit. But if you want to send me one, I'll totally wear it. Okay, so let's sew this up. So we've got the curve of the armhole here, right? And now I'm gonna reposition you guys down here. Okay. You can kind of see that. There we go. Okay, so we've got the curve of the armhole, and now what we got to do is we got to fit the sleeve in here. And these are 2 totally different shapes that we're going to have to fit together. I'm totally going to have this pattern up for sale too, by the way. By the end of the month, it should be up. I'm going to start having a ton of garment patterns up for sale because I've been designing clothes for 15 years. So I've got so many patterns I've designed. So I'm going to start making those available to you guys. Okay, so we want to fit these together. So make sure you're doing your right sides together. That side with the edge stitch, make sure it's in the inside of your garment. We don't want to see that on the outside. And you've also got 2 layers here. We're only going to sew 1 layer first, just the right side, so the outside one. So we're going to flip our right sides together. If you want, you could pin here. I'm not going to pin. I'm not a pinner. I'm taught as an industrial fashion designer. So I don't pin unless it's absolutely necessary. Iris, what are you eating? The cat is trying to get into everything today. She's trying to eat my vintage patterns. She's usually so good too. Okay, so let's get you guys in here. Maybe up a little more, and we'll get you a little closer too so you can watch this. Hey, stop eating that. What are you doing? You can't eat the vintage patterns. I'm very sorry. I know they're in plastic. They're absolutely delicious. You want to come say hi? Come say hi. Yeah, down here. Come on. Yeah. Okay. Iris is feeling a little left out today, and she wants to say hi. She's not getting enough attention. So this is Kitty. This is Iris. She's usually so good and does not eat patterns, so I don't know what she's doing right now besides begging for attention. Okay, back to sewing. So many distractions here, right? Okay. So I'm going to put the armhole. Yeah, my cat is very fluffy. She's a chubby little baby. She even has diet food, but you know, she's just naturally fluffy. Okay, so let's see. Got all messed up here. Okay, so right sides together. I've got the armhole here, and I've got the sleeve in my hand. So the armhole is going to stretch more than the sleeve. So this is why I have the sleeve down. And there should be more fabric in my sleeve than there is my armhole. So I want to ease this all together. Confusing, right? You'll get the hang of it if you don't yet. Okay, back stitch, always, always. Okay, so the beginning of my armhole, I'm going to leave pretty flat. I don't want to stretch it. What I really want to stretch is here by the sleeve cap in the very top of it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start gently, very gently, pulling my armhole. But not my top layer, not my sleeve. Don't pull the sleeve. Let the sleeve gather in. It's not really gathering, but it's easing in. When you get to the top here where you have your seam, make sure it's flat open. Make sure it's not pushed one way or the other. So make sure that's nice and flat. Okay. And I'm holding my bottom layer, but not my top layer while I do this. Remember, your seam allowance is 1/2 inch. Okay, we want to make sure that these are lining up at the end. And if you've got a lot of extra ease in here, you might have done something wrong in the beginning. You'll notice we have a little bit of extra. So we just make sure these are all lined up and we pull that bottom layer and they are all going to go together like a perfect puzzle piece. So I've noticed too with all the sewing I've been doing for over 20 years in classes and such that sometimes patterns are bad. So I've seen bad store-bought patterns. So if you're ever truly frustrated with sewing a pattern, you know, it might not be you. It could be a bad pattern. Just keep that in mind. I think the ones I've seen the most mistakes in are the Berta patterns. Yeah, not good. They like misdirections. They're pretty nutty. Okay, so now we've got that sleeve sewn in. So let's go back a little bit so I can show you here. Okay, so it's going to look like this. So this is inside of the sleeve, outside of the sleeve, and then this down here is the dress. So notice here, lining, self, dress. It's a little funky, right? Okay. But this is how we're gonna end up getting this lining in the sleeve. So that way it's gonna look really nice and finished. Okay, so we need to do one more sleeve and then I can show you how to sew up the side with that lining like that, which I know is really, really tricky. So if you're ever having trouble sewing something together too, you might want to think of it like a puzzle. So you got to think of it a little bit reversed and how it came apart or went together, etc., whether you're remaking something or making it from scratch. A lot of times I think it's even harder to recreate something or alter it than it is to so yeah. Okay, sleeve. We're going to put the sleeve in. Let's do it. Easy breezy. That's my phrase today. Easy breezy. So right sides together, make sure that your edge stitch is on the inside. So make sure that the piece that has the edge stitch, you are not sewing down to your dress. Okay, remember don't pull your first, let's say 2.5, 3 inches. And now you can start pulling your bottom layer and not your top layer. Very lightly, very slightly. And then when you get up more to the sleeve cap area, you can pull more. Okay, we want to make sure our edges are lining up here. They're looking good. Everything's easing together well. Okay, so now we just need to do the side seams and up the sleeve and hem it. We're getting really close to finishing this and wearing it and putting it on and doing a mini fashion show. Okay, so we've got this here. We've got both sleeves on now. Okay, we're getting somewhere. It's starting to look like a garment. Okay, so now right sides together, flip it so your inside is out. And now we're gonna line up our side seams. Okay, so now when we sew this, we're gonna make it flat all the way down. So I want you to flatten it out. So these are our 2 sleeve pieces, and then this here is the body. So go ahead and flatten it, straighten it out, and we're gonna sew all the way up this 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and do that. You guys got it? Okay. So 1/2 inch. Make sure your seams are lined up. And then when you get to the armhole up here, make sure everything is lined up. Again, this is going to be a real test of your skill to see if you cut, sewed, and serged everything properly. So it's really important to have the seam allowance face down because we need this face down so that way we can sew the lining of the sleeve to this seam allowance here after. So that's going to be really important. So it's a little tricky, it's a little bulky there. You also want to make sure that your edge stitches here with the hem of your sleeve are lining up as well. So if all your seam allowances were nice, they will all line up. Okay, so now we got that. Okay, so now you should have the lining, the self of the sleeve, and the body, and we're all sewn up on the side. So now we're gonna go ahead and do the exact same thing to the other side. We just wanna make sure we line up everything really nice. Sometimes I sew a little and then I go back and I really make sure everything's lined up. Again, you can use pins, just make sure you take your pins out before you get to them. Okay, so we're coming up to that underarm seam again. Make sure your seam allowance is pushed down. On both sides, the top and the bottom. Make sure they're laying on top of each other, push down. Okay, and now make sure that your under stitches or your edge stitch here on the lining is lining up. Thread is sounding a little funny. We got a little knot in it here. Let's see, let's just redo that. Automatic threader is amazing. Okay, so now we have both of these sewn up on both sides. So now what we gotta do is actually sew the sleeve lining up inside of the dress. So how the heck do we do that, right? Okay, so let's turn it right side out just because I want to see it really because I'm just so excited about having this done. I think the most gratifying part about sewing is creating something and then being able to give it away. I think that's probably one of the reasons I got started in sewing so young because it was so exciting to make something and get compliments on it, and it's just like a great feeling of accomplishment. Okay, so we've got our sleeve, and then this funky part here is the sleeve lining. So this sleeve lining is gonna tuck up inside. Okay, so just maneuver it around a little. Okay, so now you've got one sleeve on the outside, which is great. So now I'm gonna turn it inside out, just sew it, but I wanted to show you that. Okay, so now you've got your sleeve on the inside of your garment. We've got the lining here. So you can see our sleeve is fully lined on the inside of our garment. So now what we're gonna do is go around and we're gonna sew the lining to this extra seam allowance here, but I don't wanna sew it a 1/2 inch or further because that would ruin what we've done here. So I'm gonna sew it within this. I'm probably gonna sew it 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. I'm gonna see what looks good when I'm sewing and how I line it up. So you're also not gonna be able to sew over the seam that's here on the underneath. So what you're gonna do is start here, go all the way around, and then you're gonna have to stop right problem with the sound. I don't know, can you not hear? I can see if I can turn it up. Can you hear better? I turned up the volume. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and line these two up and sew all the way around in a circle. Yay, okay, I hope all of it wasn't super quiet. Okay, so let's go ahead and sew up this magical sleeve lining. Let's zoom in for you. There you go. Ooh, that looks good. That's a nice shot there. Getting used to this iPhone sewing. Hi, Iris. Okay, so if you wanted, you could also pull off the bed of your machine. You don't have to. I mean, we can. We can just pull it off. Okay. Ooh, we got lots of dust under there. Okay, so let's get this on here, and we are going to sew the lining of the sleeve. So if you've got your seams, make sure they're pressed open on both layers. And then let's go ahead and sew these together. Hi, you wanna come up here? I think the cat just thinks I'm talking to myself probably, and she wants to know what's wrong. Okay, so let me move the angle of you so you can see in here, and I can get my hands in here, the tricky part. Okay, so now let's get our foot down, let's get our needle in the fabric, and let's play with this and position this a little bit. Okay, so now I've got the seam allowance of my sleeve, and now I've got my sleeve lining down here. So now I'm gonna go ahead and position these on top of each other and sew them up. So I'm doing about a 3/8 inch of a seam. Let's see if I can get you guys a little higher here so you can watch. Okay. Yeah, you guys can see that. Ooh. So keep lining and positioning. You could totally pin this. Oh, the cat is visiting. Hello, hello. Okay, we're almost there. And then I can show you what we just did by flipping it right side out. So nice and even, nice and even. So much bulkiness, flatten it out. Make sure you don't have any tucks in there. Make sure your fabric on the bottom isn't underneath. Okay. If you got all these extra threads in here from your sleeve, just cut them. You're good. Get rid of those threads. Okay. We're almost to the seam again, so we're just gonna sew up to it as far as we can. This is just holding the lining down, so don't worry about getting directly to that seam. Now back stitch, we're gonna cut. Hey, what do you think you're doing? I don't think so. No, kitty, kitty. Okay, cat is causing more trouble again. I don't know what her deal is today. Okay, so now we have just finished sewing the lining and the sleeve, so let's check it out. Okay, so we have got our sleeve and it's fully lined. Yes, looks so good. So if we flip that inside out, you can see we have the lining sewn all the way around, and you can see where it lines up and underneath, and it's not fully sewn up in this little mini spot. You could go back and hand sew that, or you could leave it. It's not really gonna move a whole ton on you. But I would probably go back and hand sew that up just so it is extra nice. Or you could tack it with the machine. The cat today and these patterns, can you see her back there? Okay, so now we have one more sleeve and then we're gonna do the hem. But let's grab this crazy cat. What are you eating for? You wanna eat the black scatter? Since when? Since today? Yeah? You want to say hi again? Do you need a little attention? Yeah? What'd you do last night? You ready for me to finish the dress? Are you looking at them? Yeah. Okay. Very needy cat. Okay. She usually likes to just lay like right behind my sewing machine. It's a very comforting place for her. Okay, so let's flip our dress inside out so we can finish this sleeve. And then all we need to do is put the hem on around the neck and at the hem, and then we can try it on. So remember your underarm seam allowance, make sure it's nice and flat and open so it lays nice. Okay, so we'll get you back in here so you can really see how we do this again. Let's just reposition you. Okay, there we go. So now let's go ahead and put this under the foot. So now I'm starting at my underarm seam, which is like right here, and I'm gonna line up. So now this time I have the lining on top and I have the sleeve that's already sewn together with the seam allowance on the bottom. So you can go ahead, make sure you do that 3/8 seam. Make sure you're not sewing beyond that because we have a 1/2 inch seam on here. And we don't want to mess up what we've already done. So we just keep working it around in a circle. Make sure this is still nice and flat open. Make sure your seam stays flat. Okay, we found an extra thread here. We're gonna cut that. We don't need that in there. My biggest pet peeve is being out in public and seeing threads on people. Drives me crazy. Or if I'm out shopping and I see threads on clothes, oh my gosh. This drives me nuts. Okay. We are almost at the very end of this jumbled mess of a sleeve here. So we're just gonna keep lining it up and sewing. Get all the way around to the edge. Okay. It is really hard to see in there, huh? We need an overhead camera. Okay, back stitch and cut. And now all we need to do is try it on. So we are getting so close to being done. Okay, we have got sleeves on our dress now that are fully lined. So that looks great. Okay, so let's do the neck here. Let's just turn this under a little bit so that way it looks really, really nice. So let's get you in here and down a little bit. So for this, I'm gonna go ahead and put back on. There we go. Here we go. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna leave it right side up. I'm gonna start at a shoulder. Make sure your seam allowance is open. Go ahead and flip it. Put it down. So I'm flipping it up 1/4 of an inch and then sewing it. We are so, so close to having the coziest dress ever. Sewing like the wind. Okay. Again, make sure your needle up-down button's engaged so that way every time you stop to readjust, you're not gonna have skipped stitches. Your stitch is still gonna remain really consistent and nice because you keep like moving it around. So imagine if your needle wasn't down the whole time, your stitch line would look pretty funky and wacky. So we wanna make sure that's engaged. So we're coming up to the other shoulder. And you're done. I'm gonna line that up, back stitch or fix, hit that cut button, and we are so close to finishing this. So we're gonna check out the neckline. We will iron it, but you can see how nice that looks inside and out, and nobody's gonna see that serge because it's gonna be on the inside of the garment. Okay, so now all we need to do is the hem. So I'm gonna turn up the hem just 1/4 of an inch too, because remember I chopped off those 2 inches in the beginning. So I really don't wanna make it too much shorter, otherwise it might just turn into a shirt. So let's go ahead and give it a hem, and then we're gonna go ahead and try it on and see how it looks. Hopefully it's perfect. I think it is. I think this went really well. And if you guys have questions about this, I'm going to make the video permanent on the channel. So you can always go ahead and leave a comment on that or a question on that. Okay, so it looks like I ended up doing a 1/2 inch hem. I'm not so picky sometimes. But that's what happens when you rush, right? Okay, so we're coming up to another seam, so we want to make sure that we make this open when we get to it. Okay, so open up your seam, and then when we're done, we're going to go back and iron all these seams open too. Thank you. Yeah, we're getting there. We're almost done. I can't wait to try it on. I think it's going to look great. The hems always take so long. Sometimes when you do gowns and there's like 30 yards of fabric in the hem, oh my God, those things take hours. Hours to just hem something. We have a dress that has 50 yards of fabric in it, and my hands hurt for days after hemming that. It was crazy. Okay, final moment, the last stitch. We're about to put it in. And we are done. So we just finished the dress. We sewed it, cut it out, serged it, and I did it live with chatting with you guys in like an hour. So, I mean, this is a great, easy dress pattern. And it really changes depending on the fabric you make it out of. So if you made it out of a silk chiffon, sorry, not silk chiffon, silk charmeuse, you could do a silk chiffon overlay. I mean, it would look fancy, or maybe you do like a lace overlay on it. It would look like a cute little 60s dress. I chose to do this super cozy flannel because I want some cozy dresses for this cold weather. And in Chicago, we're going to be cold for at least another, we're in January, February, March, April, 3-4 months. So it's going to be cold here for a while. So staying fashionable and warm is a really hard thing to do. But if you can sew, then we are good. So we're just gonna iron this real quick, iron the seams open, and then we'll try it on and check it out and see how we did. So let's move you guys over here to the ironing board, and then we will get this ironed up and give it a go. Ooh, don't trip here on my rack. Okay, so we are going to turn it now inside out. So all those seams we have, iron them open. I'm going to get in this dress in 3 minutes. So this seam here, we want to go ahead, and put this down a little more. We want to go ahead and iron it open, so that way it's going to look nice and crisp on. If you got any other wrinkles in your garment, go ahead and iron those out. Okay, and look how nice that looks on the inside ironed open. So we've got one more, and then I'm going to iron the hem too. So I want that to be nice and crisp. Okay, and if you wanted to be real fancy, you could give your garment French seams, or you could bias bind your seams as well. Especially if you had a sheer fabric, I would totally do a French seam or bias binding for an extra detail or decoration that you could see. Okay, we're just gonna do the neckline, and I'm gonna use the ham to do the neckline. So ham is great. If you do not have one of these in your sewing room, make sure you get one. Okay, so we're gonna use it because it's curved and our neckline's curved, so it's not gonna pull it and make it funky or out of shape. And I'm just gonna keep moving it around the neckline and ironing. And I'm using a cotton flannel so it can take a lot of hot steam. Okay, we got our last press here. What do we got left? I think we did it. We good. Okay, so let's go set up in front of the backdrop, and then we will try this on and see how it looks. You guys are getting a little... Here goes the water bottle. Okay, so here's the dress we made yesterday. Oh, hi, Iris. Here, we'll set up way back here so you guys can get the full view. Yeah? Okay. So I will go over there and try that on for you guys. So we'll go there. Oh, Iris. She's such a sassy little thing. I'll be back in 1 minute. Let me put it on. Okay, here I come. Ta-da! Okay, so let's get this big fur coat out of the way too, huh? So here is the dress. You can see me and my mannequin. We match. So fun. So I think it turned out really well. I love the sleeve on this. I love how it goes up on the side. I think it looks great. This is just such a great, easy, simple dress to wear. Let's get over here, you guys. Yeah, they're totally the same. So I did the video yesterday, but well, it didn't work. I don't know what happened to it. So we got, if you can see, can you guys see me in here? Woo, there we go. So I think it looks super cute. This is something I would totally throw on and wear like every day. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, you guys. Check me out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that great stuff if you don't yet. So I'm going to be posting and doing a lot more live stuff. Tomorrow we have sewing classes all day, so I'll do sewing classes live here and there, depending on what is going on in them. And if you have any questions or comments, leave it down below in the video after this uploads for being a live video. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye! No, it's not too short, right? Totally. I mean, I'm short. It's like right to my hands, so it's perfect, actually. It's where I like to wear all my stuff. So I think it worked out really great. Bye! Iris says bye too.